come from outside of the region. As an example of confidence in the council, Mr. Jones says eventually all 22 secondary schools in Barbados will have to write the CXC's newest offering, the Caribbean Certificate of Secondary Level Competence, or the CCSLC.
We are not cherry picking. We are not cherry picking. You will write it. You will write CSEC. And we'll expand in more and more so that more and more can write CAPE. And the Caribbean vocational qualifications, more and more of our students are gradually writing the Caribbean vocational qualifications because CXC understands the various talents of our people.
Meantime, Registrar Glenroy Cumberbatch says the council pumps about $24 million into the island's economy every year. He says since its inception, CXC has been a major contributor to the regional integration movement and outlined what has to be done this year alone.
CXC has granted over 120,000 certificates for CSEC, 29,000 certificates for CAPE, 5,200 for CCSLC, and 1,202 for CVQ. However, it does not end here. CXC has provided several opportunities for practitioners in education to improve their practice in teaching, curriculum development, assessment, and data analysis.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Tourism Product Authority, Dr. Kerry Hall, says if crime against tourists spirals out of control, it will have a serious negative drag on the island. And she's therefore urging all Barbadians to ensure that this does not happen. She made the comments at a community forum on crime and its effects on community-based tourism. And it was hosted by the St. Philip Parish Independence Committee at the Princess Margaret Secondary School. Peter Thorne has that story.
The CEO of the Barbados Tourism Product Authority, Dr. Kerry Hall, says Barbados has three critical factors going for it in tourism, which it should always seek to maintain. She listed these as its friendliness, its safety, and its relaxing environment, while contending that the tourism dollar must be spread across all communities in Barbados.
Tourism is also about bringing benefits to a nation. Tourism is about ensuring that, and what we want to ensure is that a wider cross-section of Barbadians benefit from the prosperity that tourism brings. We want to spread the tourism, a spatial balance from the coastal part of this country into the rural areas, spreading that tourism dollar across this country and giving a wider cross-section of Barbadians an opportunity to interact and to benefit from that tourism dollar. So if crime takes root, and we can't allow it to take root, as I said, for the economic reasons, Barbados is the 15th most dependent country in the world on tourism.
Dr. Hall says Barbados is attracting a new type of tourist that is moving away from just wanting sun, sea, and sand. She says this tourist is looking for an authentic Barbadian experience, like oysters on weekends, roasting breadfruit with locals, and experiencing Barbadian cuisine and culture. She added that the tourist dollar is vital to maintaining Barbados' standard of living.
We've heard the representative of the IMF say it. We've heard every time the governor of the central bank speaks, the Minister of Finance, that the only way Barbados' economy will recover and restore the quality of life of which Barbadians have grown accustomed over the years will largely be dependent on the success of the tourism industry. Because the major foreign exchange that this country earns, and when I say foreign exchange, I mean the money that we need to pay the bills of this country, to pay off our debts, to bring in our imports, everything we eat, our cars, our building materials, our food, our beverage. As I keep telling the young people, the Remy that you put in your hair, all of that, we cannot buy it with Barbadian dollars.
Attorney General Adriel Braffett says Barbados is still one of the safest places in the world and is a location where tourists feel relatively safe. This while acknowledging that there are issues like harassment and drugs on the beaches, along with other violent gun-related crimes and sexual assaults. But Mr. Braffett says his main concern is about the messaging pertaining to crime and tourism that reaches the international community.
The messaging cannot be that crime is out of control in Barbados, because that is not true. The messaging cannot be that we're on the brink, because that is not true. The messaging cannot be that persons are not free to take the minibus and go up to Oystins, because that is not true. The messaging cannot be that the Attorney General is afraid to walk about Barbados, because when he leaves here, he's going to drive himself and go down to karaoke, down Chapman's, and have a drink and drive back home by himself. So, you know, we just have to be careful, be very, very careful with the messaging.
So far this year, tourism has performed exceptionally well, recording a 14% increase during the first quarter, with over 171,000 long-stay visitors coming to the island in that period. The recorded cases of crimes against visitors are under the 190 mark. Peter Thorne, CBC News.
Well, meantime, former chairperson of Crime Stoppers Barbados, Julie Dash, says when tourists come to the island, they must be safe. And she's urging Barbadians not to allow that reputation to slip. She says tourism is a goose that lays the golden egg, and Barbados cannot afford any negative publicity about bad tourist experiences.
When you go over that waterfall, it's like asking you to bring all that water back with a bucket. We're not over that waterfall yet. I believe that we're teetering on the top, but we're not there yet. But it's us, the people of Barbados, that have got to stand up and say, I know that that fella got a gun. Because the gun that you ignore today can turn on you and kill one of yours tomorrow.
Ms. Dash says in the 37 years since Crime Stoppers was started, no one has been compromised, and she wants Barbadians to utilize the mechanisms to report and stop crimes. 2 students of the Gordon Greenwich Primary School were involved in an accident with a motor car along Sion Hill Road, St. James, this afternoon, according to Acting Assistant Superintendent of Police David Welch. The 2 brothers, aged 4 and 7, were taken to hospital by ambulance. He says the 4-year-old appears to be the more serious of the 2, but the extent of the injuries are still to be determined. ASP Welch says it was rainy at the time of that accident. More news ahead, but first we want to get your take on this question. Do you believe Barbadians prefer foreign products and services to those produced here? Text yes or no to short code 8111 and we'll have the results for you at the end of our news.
Luxury is now available and covered in chocolate. Introducing new Choc Ice from Byco, the luxury ice cream treat with real rich chocolate coating. Choc Ice is available island-wide from retail outlets, Byco Mobilers, and the Byco Direct Outlet. So indulge in luxury today with Choc Ice from Byco.
Hi, how are you doing? Good to see you. I'm wonderful. What brings you this side?
I'm dropping off my credit card application.
What credit card application?
This Globe Bar credit card is the new buzz. Chip technology to protect you from fraudulent transactions. Interest rates from 12% to 16%. Annual fees as low as $25 Barbados. Great rewards every time you shop, and you can transfer your balance from any existing card.
Seriously, how Globe consistently makes life easier amazes me.
And there's creditor life insurance to cover repayment of the outstanding balance up to $15,000 Barbados in the event of untimely death.
People say life begins at 50. I beg to differ. Life begins when you think outside the bank.
Globe Finance. Think outside the bank.
Fruta, taste the real Fruta. Enjoy the real Fruta. Refreshing juice of every day. Whoa, Fruta.
This week on Rejoice and Sing, here is a taste of La Joie.
Jesus is a rock in a weary land, a weary land, a weary land. Jesus is a rock in a weary land. He's a shelter in the time of storm.
Our up-close guest is none other than Israel Houghton.
It's in those wrong turn seasons, in those frustrating seasons, that you have to really just trust God, that you have to trust God has a plan, God has a time, and He didn't bring me this far to just discard me.
We shine our spotlight on Lynn Morgan.
It's me, oh Lord, I'm on my knees.
Find it all and more on a brand new season of Rejoice and Sing, Sunday at 9 p.m. on CBC TV8. Brought to you with the good wishes of Sewing World's department store and Black Image Cosmetique, Upper Swan Street, for all your curtain needs this holiday season.
Agriculture Minister Dr. David Eswick has today revealed details of a food and nutrition security policy and action plan for the island. He says the documents have been completed and will be submitted to the cabinet shortly.
The plan is to be implemented over a period of 5 years, commencing this year and ending in 2019. I am satisfied that the draft Barbados Food and Nutrition Security Policy and Action Plan are comprehensive documents that will serve us well in addressing the issues relating to food and nutrition security in Barbados.
Dr. Eswick spoke about the plan at the launch of a food and nutrition campaign dubbed Grow Well, Eat Well, Live Well right here in BIM at the Ministry of Agriculture in Graham Hall, Christchurch. In attendance were ministry officials, representatives from the Food and Agriculture Organization, along with some primary and secondary school students. The minister also outlined the goals of this new policy.
The overall strategic objective of the Barbados Food and Nutrition Security Policy and Action Plan is to achieve optimum degree of self-reliance that contributes to food and nutrition security through a strategy that aims to, 1, maximize domestic food production, utilizing indigenous raw materials and domestic human and natural resources, and 2, ensure that all households have sufficient resources and knowledge at all times to access safe, affordable, and nutritious food.
Corporate Barbados urged to continue its support for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. The call from President of the Cancer Support Services, Kathy-Ann Kelly-Springer, at the presentation of a counseling and transition room for Ward C12. She believes this will be an impetus for caregivers, friends and family who are supportive of persons diagnosed and suffering from cancer who have to utilize the services of the QEH.
Cancer Support Services is committed. We have adopted Ward C12 and we will continue to make our commitment to the support of the staff and the patients of Ward C12. The refurbishment project came out of a need, and from that need we were able to create this phase of the project. This is just one phase, but our continued commitment want to make sure that we can continue providing that assistance to the staff and the patients of Ward C12.
Mrs. Kelly-Springer says Cancer Support Services has some good partners and donors who are willing to work with the state to uplift health care because the government cannot do it alone. Now, communications specialist at the hospital, Julie Carrington, welcomed the initiative for Ward C12, noting that it's vital that all Barbadians support the QEH in its mandate of providing health care for the nation.
The Queen Elizabeth Hospital is very appreciative of the efforts of the Cancer Support Services, of all the donations that they would have given to the hospital over the years. And this latest project, which is the transition room and the counseling room, is just another example of what a private-public partnership can do as it relates to bettering the lives of the hospital, its staff, and the patients who come here.
An Anglican priest is telling the nation's children that God does not need a camera to see what they are doing. Reverend Mark Herwood was expressing concern about the number of incidents involving school children over the past few weeks, which have been publicized on social media. He was a featured speaker at the prefect installation ceremony of the Grantley Prescott Memorial Primary School at the St. Barnabas Church yesterday. Reverend Herwood told the prefects that they should try to do good always and remember that God knows and sees all that they are doing.
No, you don't have to feel upset about that. You can be comforted by that. That God is watching over you. God cares for you. And also that God is saddened when we do things which are not in accordance with His will. When indeed we are not listening and not responding, as in this particular reading where Samuel says, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening."
And Principal Marlene Abrams told the prefects that they should always aim to shine regardless of if they are wearing their badges or not.
We can all live up to our school's motto, character and usefulness, our goal. We can ensure that our theme for this academic school year is meaningful. That is, dream big. Set goals. Take action.
And still to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across our region. But first, we want to hear from you on this question. Do you believe Barbadians prefer foreign products and services to those produced here? You can text yes or no to short code 8111, the result at the end of our news. And you can also follow us on Twitter at CBC_Newsroom and, of course, on our Facebook page, CBC Newsroom Barbados.
Here comes a very special time of the year. You're dreaming of the colors that will be everywhere. Harris is your first choice. Color your Christmas.
Make Harris Paints your first choice this Christmas.